This video is sponsored by Boksu. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome back to the Contributor series, where I invite a super talented and somewhat underrated creator from somewhere in the whole wide world and ask them to introduce us to one of their comfort foods and tell us a little bit about what makes it special. This week, our contributor hails straight out of Brooklyn, so you might have an idea where this is going. Say hello to Kevin.
Nice. There he is. Hi, Kevin. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. So good to finally see you. I've been watching your channel for years at this point, so this is really cool. Good to see you, well, almost in person. For those who don't know your channel yet, introduce yourself and what you do on YouTube.
Absolutely. I'm Kevin. I have a channel called Kevin All Over, and I explore world cuisine and a little bit outside of world cuisine, some interesting experiments. Yeah, on a weekly basis, I just find the most interesting and tasty dishes and try and replicate them.
I know you have a crazy broad repertoire. Like, you have literally, like, Kevin All Over, it's not just a name. You have literally cooked things from, I'm sure, every continent by now. We asked you to come up with something that you feel like personally connected to. So can you share what dish you chose and why?
Yeah, so I chose Italian-American style eggplant parmesan. And we have a really interesting history that's sort of diverged from mainland Italian cuisine over the years. A lot of us came over right at the turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s. And since then, new ingredients were picked up, new techniques were picked up. So it's very different from the eggplant parm that you'll have in Italy if you go.
Yeah, I mean, at least it actually exists, There are sometimes dishes that certain, like, diaspora communities would cook that don't even exist in the country of origin, But so you say that with eggplant parm, it actually exists in Italy, right? So, but you yourself, do you also have an Italian-American background?
Yeah, so my mom's side of the family is from a town called Sarno, about an hour outside of Naples. So my great-grandma and great-grandpa came over the early 1900s. My grandma, was immersed in that, lived in an Italian-American neighborhood, spoke Italian primarily. So a lot of the food that I had growing up was Italian-American food.
Again, sorry, but this might be a silly question to an American, but how big, how strong, how intense is the Italian-American community?
Well, being in Brooklyn, being in New York, it's very strong because this is one of the launch points once people came over. Ellis Island was the big door to America back in the turn of the century. So, I have a skewed perspective. Lots of my friends growing up were Italian-American. There's sort of the groups of immigrants that came over that founded what New York heritage sort of is. But I think that we moved around the States, after that time and really spread the culture and the food. And you can see that worldwide now. I mean, you think about pizza. Pizza worldwide probably came from Italian-American cuisine versus Italian cuisine. You look at Domino's and Pizza Hut, they came from America and spread from there. So I think the world's love for pizza came from right here in Brooklyn.
I'm pretty sure that's correct. What would you say is the difference? How did Italian food evolve in America?
The main difference that I see is mainland Italian cuisine is very simplistic. They're true to their ingredients. Whether it's because we didn't have certain ingredients or we started using other ingredients that we suddenly had access to, the flavors got amped up. Seasonings that we use are a little more intensely flavored. It creates a totally different vibe. Rather than being fresh and light, things tend to be hearty.
That definitely sounds very much like what I think of American cuisine. It's just a lot of everything. It's just stuff it in there. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like that. But that's but I definitely also appreciate the Italian approach of purist cuisine. Let the ingredients speak for themselves. There's definitely also some beauty in that. Let's talk about eggplant parm. When we talked to you, you said if we do eggplant parm, we really have to talk about two different versions of eggplant parm.
Sure. So the traditional Italian version, first they'll slice the eggplant lengthwise, so they're longer oval-shaped slices, rather than in America we tend to slice it crosswise. They tend to not peel it, whereas over here we tend to peel the eggplant. So you're going to fry the slices of eggplant. In Italy, they might dredge it in some flour and then fry it like that, or they'll just do it plain. So it's these thin, crispy slices of eggplant. Over here, the majority of Italian Americans bread with eggs, flour, and breadcrumbs. So typical dredging station. So that's one of the main differences. In terms of the final texture, you're going to get a little bit of a more cakey, dense texture in the Italian American version. On the Italian side, you'll get a little bit more of a light and delicate and smooth texture. So I would start with the sauce first, because that can be going in the background doing everything else. Traditionally in Italy, it would just be a quick tomato sauce. You're frying a little bit of garlic, whole clove, and then you're adding in some tomatoes. You could pull the clove of garlic out too if you don't want it to be too strong. Throwing in some pureed tomatoes and throwing in a sprig of basil and letting that cook for a short time until it's all infused. So very light, delicate, very tomatoey sauce. Over here, you're gonna throw about 30 milliliters of olive oil into a pot. Add in a couple cloves of minced garlic and about a half a minced onion. Let those saute for a few minutes to get aromatic and transparent. And then once that's ready, you can either throw in your dried herbs, so dried oregano, dried parsley, dried basil, and let them toast a little bit in that oil. I like to do that. I also like to throw in a little bit of crushed red pepper, some chili flakes, delicious. So that it gets a little bit spicy. My mom doesn't like that, but it's okay. And then once those are toasted, you can throw in 1 or 2 cans, depending on how much you want to make, of crushed tomatoes. I like to use crushed tomatoes. My family always used crushed tomatoes. It's got a thicker texture than the pureed tomatoes. We would cook the sauce for maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, just for a basic tomato sauce. So it really breaks down and creates these deep flavors. So not only is the texture a little bit different, but the flavor of the sauce really like amps up what this dish is. So once that's done, you're gonna start with your eggplant. Lately, I've been doing it lengthwise because you get a little bit more surface area out of it. You don't have to, fry as many little ringlets. That's my preference. My mom freaked out when she saw that because she's always done it in circles. Why are you doing it differently?
Is that as bad as breaking spaghetti in half?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. No. Why would you ever do that? So with the eggplant, generally you want to press it. There is the liquid inside and it can get kind of bitter. I never notice it because it's got the sauce, it's got all the different seasonings and cheese and everything. You're not going to notice the bitterness so much. But I think in the Italian version, it's more important to do this.
Do you salt them to draw out the moisture or something?
Some people do, some people don't. It accelerates the process if you do. You have to be careful because if you use too much salt, then it might get salty in the end. For the American version, you're going to dredge it in flour, and then in a beaten egg, and then in some breadcrumbs. Yeah, what we're looking for is just a nice golden crust on the outside that, in the end, it's going to be covered up with sauce. It just creates a little bit of a buffer between those layers. If you want to fry these ahead of time and put them in the freezer for later, that totally works.
That's a great shortcut.
Oh, especially because this process it just takes forever. 5 ever.
How many frozen pieces of fried eggplant do you have in your freezer right now?
Right now, not too many. So eggplant parm, because it's such a labor-intensive process, it's one of these things that I only break out for special occasions or for special people.
So we are deep frying the eggplants, right?
We've fried it, we've drained it. Now we can build our casserole, basically. You want to spread a thin layer of your sauce on the bottom so nothing sticks and nothing burns at the bottom. Then you can go in with a layer of your fried eggplant, a little bit of sauce. In terms of the cheeses that are used, it's kind of 50-50 over here whether we use fresh mozzarella or a processed block of low moisture mozzarella. And the benefit of that is that it doesn't leach as much water out and you can use it right away. Whereas with the fresh stuff, you have to let it sit out, let it dehydrate a little bit before you can use it. Otherwise you get a soggy mess.
I've definitely made that mistake before.
Oh yeah, you get a puddle in the middle of the pizza. That's not the best look. And then you repeat the process. You put on some eggplant, you put on some sauce, you put on some cheese, and at the very top, it's 50-50 whether or not people put mozzarella on top or just the parm.
How
and then
tall?
we're gonna bake that.
Yeah. How tall?
and
How tall can you go? How tall? How big? Is there a limit?
As tall as you want.
That's what I wanted to hear.
So-
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. My mom does 2 or 3 layers. I think I do 3 layers, but I cut mine a little bit thicker than she does. I've gone up to 5 layers, but it gets fiddly. That's the thing. You got to fit it on a fork. Or do you? I don't know. Yeah, it's up to you how high you go.
Okay.
So from here, we can bake it. It's all cooked already, right? You got cooked sauce, you've got fried eggplant, the cheese you can eat raw if you want. So really, you're just looking for a medium temperature oven. I'd say 180, I think, is about. I'm not too familiar with Celsius, even though I put that in my video.
180 sounds pretty medium.
Yeah, it's okay. So 180, you could go from 25 to 35 minutes, I'd say, until the top is looking crispy. You're starting to get some bubbling going on.
Then you just take it out of the oven and try not to burn your face.
Yeah, basically. It does taste better, like with many things, the next day. Have a piece tonight, cut it into, appropriate sized squares, and then throw it in the fridge when you're done. And the next day, it'll sort of like condense over time, which makes for this really nice, dense texture. You can serve it with some extra sauce on top, if it's a little bit dry after baking. Just spread a little sauce on top, a little bit more parm, a little sprig of basil if you want to be fancy.
Delicious. That's all you need. When you reheat it, just a quick question, how would you reheat it? In the oven, or like is microwave allowed? Is that illegal?
Yeah, you're good. Go for it.
So is that something you would like eat a lot growing up?
Yeah, pretty regularly. I'd say probably once a month.
Once a month. That's a lot. You must have had quite a number of eggplant parms in your life. So Grace was saying, you did a lot of like really deep research.
A few old cookbooks from the turn of the century. One is called the Artusi, which is like the Italian Bible. Actually, the full title is Science and the Art of Eating Well, or something along those lines. It's so great. So I looked up these classic recipes to see, what's changed, and theirs was pretty spot on with the Italian version. I wanted to find out, when did this split happen? When did things start changing? I didn't find any evidence of that. I think it was something that came over once we got here.
All right, I am very excited. We are about to go and try it. So we're gonna start cooking. Thank you so much, Kevin. We'll definitely snap a picture and report back and let you know how it went. All right, before we move on with cooking, I'd like to share a message from one of my favorite channel sponsors, Bokksu. Why do I like Bokksu so much? Well, because it's a monthly snack box subscription service that delivers original assortments of premium Japanese snacks and tea pairings. Every month, you'll receive a box just like this with a different theme shipped straight from Japan to your door. This month, it's the Moon Festival themed box, and I could not be more excited to see what's inside. A whole box full of snacks! Whew, not so easy at all. But actually, aside from the snacking, this is kind of my favorite part about Bokksu. They always partner with these small, traditional, family-run snack makers in Japan. And in this booklet right here, you can actually always find the origin stories of these snacks, as well as practical information such as ingredients or common allergens. Oh my god, look at this crispy beauty. It's so thin and light. I have never tasted anything like this in my life. So if you're anything like me and you love getting a little snackable piece of Japanese culture delivered straight to your house, then you should absolutely check out Bokksu. Use my code Andong10 and the link in the video description to get 10% off your own authentic Japanese snack box subscription from Bokksu. Don't miss out on this delicious snack journey through Japan. Thank you, Bokksu, for sponsoring this video. I have never
had eggplant parm in my life before, guys. I need your help. This is not a one-person meal.
Definitely not.
Even though I wish it was. Ooh, very nice. So we have a delicious piece of eggplant parm with some ooey gooey golden cheese on top and a few extra. We had a few medallions left over, so we're just serving them on the side to dip into the sauce.
I really love the delicate sauce because like you would think, oh, it's only like 3 ingredients or 4, but it's actually quite impactful.
It is not greasy. I would have thought, I was expecting this to be a little greasy. It's not.
And it fits on the fork because he said like it needs to fit on the fork.
Exactly. The forkability was perfect. Perfect.
Just to shovel it into your mouth like
Exactly. Exactly. Wow.
You ruined us, Kevin!
Impressively delicious, really.
Yeah, come on by, Kevin all over. And, every Sunday I've got new recipes and new experiments coming out. Last week I did a pesto gelato, a savory gelato. So things out of left field, things from all over the world. So check it out.